Hello, everyone. I am Eleftheria from Crab Nebula, and today I have the pleasure to have with me Zack. Zack, would you like to introduce yourself and share a little bit about your background?
Hello, everyone. I'm Zack. I'm founder and CEO at Avail. My background, I'll give a simple background. I was in university like a year ago. It was my second year, was doing maths and computer science, was working a bit as a software engineer here and there. And then I stumbled upon an idea and I started building it. And now I'm here.
Nice. And we will talk about your idea in a bit, I guess. But how did you involve with the Tauri community? How did you started with it?
Oh, well, through the idea or through this mission that I wanted to start, basically it required me to have access to Rust. So I needed to build in Rust and I needed access to Rust functionality or Rust execution easily through an app, like a mobile app. I needed it from mobile. And I spent after I got the idea, I'll explain a bit more later. I wrote down what I need to do, and I was like, okay, let me start with the most uh, popular mobile app framework, which is React Native. And I just spent 2 weeks struggling trying to get React Native to work with Rust, and that didn't go well. And then I did some more research and looked at some more options, and Tauri had just released its alpha release, which is so they were starting to support iOS and Android. And that gave me access to build a mobile app and code the client side backend in Rust. And that's how I got introduced to Tauri.
Nice, because some people know a tech stack and they want to build based on that particular technology. But I think for you, it was the opposite. You had the idea and then you started working more and more on it. Cool.
Yeah.
So, would you like to show us what you actually build and maybe show us its best features or whatever you think it will be useful for our audience?
Yeah, first I'll give a bit of a background to it because it can be a bit complex and it's still early days on the app itself. So Avail is a digital wallet that aims to give people full ownership of their money and data. But what do I mean by full ownership of your money and data? It's you can imagine it simply as to real estate, to property, we have a key. If you own a piece of property, you have a key to the property, and unless you choose to give that key or copy it to someone else, you have access to that property only. But your funds and your data aren't really like that. From when you're born, you're kind of born into this world where you have to give, your money is going to be stored by a bank, owned by a bank. In the property metaphor or analogy, they have your key. That's how it is. And same with data. So the internet, came about and everyone ran to this client server model. So at least then when it developed into cloud compute and all of this, even before though. So I have my client on my phone or on my laptop, but actually the data is being stored on some server somewhere. And if they don't, you have to trust, there's an element of trust in the other party. So there's this issue here. And what we do at Avail is we give you that key on your device, and in the wallet through that key and through blockchain technology, which maybe I'll get into, maybe I won't, because I know this community is not in blockchain, not in Web3, but maybe I'll give a little bit of a sense of it. Um, this key is used that's stored on your device in the wallet. So your wallet is a key. And a blockchain is basically a software that multiple people around the world can run. And they all have a database. And this database is synced. So they all have the same. And instead of having one central entity like a bank who's listing, Aleph and Zach, $5, and they list it in their database, and they do -5 from your account, +5 into mine, and they manage it how they manage it. Instead, this consensus, these multiple entities around the world are doing that on different databases, and they are agreeing. And this one gives you a better mechanism that is not prone to people in power and people in government manipulating the system because it's one entity doing it in the middle. And it can also, when you speak about, for example, money transfers, globalize the system where it shouldn't be different that I send money to Malta or England, and then it's different if I send to Japan and I have to pay more fees to Japan or US. So these are what blockchain aims to solve, is giving you full ownership through that key that you own in a self-custodial wallet, they call them. So we are a self-custodial wallet. And why does that key? Because in the database that I explained of a blockchain, that key is the only way that data can be moved by you signing cryptographically. So you're the only person who can own, who can move, and in a sense, what now I'll explain a bit more about Avail, and then I'll show a demo. I know I'm saying a lot, but I want to explain it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can, in a sense, in normal blockchain, you can own it. So it's only you can move that data with your key. But the problem with blockchains, really, if I were to get to a problem that we're kind of solving, is if we use, like, I think you've heard of Bitcoin, Ethereum, like everyone's Bitcoin's going crazy right now, the price of Bitcoin. If I were to transact in Bitcoin with you, that's a public transaction. Those databases is not encrypted. It's public data. So anyone, if I know you have this like an address on a blockchain is like your IBAN in a bank account. And if I know you have this address and this correlated to your identity, then I can see how much balance you have in your Bitcoin bank account, you can call it, or your blockchain account. I can see your past transactions. I can see if it's like Ethereum, which is programmable, I can see your data, etc. It's all public, which isn't good. So what we specifically try and do is, and are doing, is make it private. That's by building on a new blockchain called Alio, and their mission is making it all private. So to close it off, that's it. We're a wallet that gives you full ownership of your money and data whilst preserving your privacy. That's what it is. And I'll give a bit of a demo.
Thank you for explaining all of this. I wasn't aware of those things and those concepts, and maybe our audience didn't know some of those stuff. So it was a nice introduction.
This is a Tauri desktop app here. It's on the latest version, so the latest. It's on Mac and Linux right now. Windows is coming soon. We're just dealing with some issues that I'll say soon. So let me show a bit of a feature that Tauri built that we kind of integrated into our system. This is like a browser in the app where you can go on different applications that are built on top of this blockchain that we built on called Alio, and you can interact with them. Like, for example, you have Arcane Finance, which is an exchange, so you can exchange different cryptocurrencies right now. You have AlphaSwap, which is also an exchange. You have a name service, different types of applications in the blockchain ecosystem right now, which all aim to kind of offer privacy. This is the whole focus here. And so I'll go and show you one of them, which is the exchange. And here, what we do is we use the Tauri multi-web view feature to open up this small tab. Is using this feature built by Tauri. And it allows us to prompt the user so the application Arcane Finance here tells the Tauri app, tells it, hey, the user wants to connect. This is some information. Tell them if they want to approve or reject. And I will approve. And now I'm connected to this app. And then they can start prompting me with more requests. Like, do I want to share my records for a specific token or cryptocurrency they're saying here? I know the UI or UX of it is not great yet, but it's an iterative process and we'll get there. So records here are your private balance, the private balance of cryptocurrency that you store right now. And they want to know my balance. So I'm like, okay, I want to use this app and I'll share my balance with them. Same, they're asking for some more of these. Another one I think they ask for. Yeah. By the way, everyone who's building on this blockchain is all like on DevNet or testnet, like it's all very early. They're still not live. So if I were to say something really quick, the difference between testnet and mainnet in a blockchain is on testnet, which Alio, the blockchain we're building on right now, is on testnet, is that you're not using real money, you're not using real value. You're testing out the whole system, and even the apps on top of it are in this test mode. So that's where we are right now.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, then when it goes live, you just it's real money, it's real value. You have to make sure everything's kind of in place and working well. So
Yeah.
here you have a send page where you can transfer tokens. You have your private balance, your public balance, and you'll need to get an address, of course. So I will go to home and get an address. I'll copy my own. You can also set a username if you want. You can press here to go to it.
Yeah.
You paste the address, kind of like an IBAN. I'll say I want to transfer to, and I'll add a message, kind of like, hey, to myself, because I'm transferring to myself. And here we'll convert from a public balance to a private balance. And we'll execute that, and that will start processing here.
You already mentioned a few of the technologies and tech stack that you used. Is there anything else that you used and you think it's worthy for our audience?
As for a tech stack, we've used a lot of the tech stack of the kind of in Rust of the blockchain we're built on, which is Alio, which is also open source. And they are built in Rust, all of them. So they have two main repositories called Snark VM and Snark OS. Snark OS, Snark, by the way, stands for, in cryptography terms, succinct SNARK, so succinct, non-interactive argument of knowledge. And this is how it outputs a proof, and you can then I can explain how a zero knowledge proof works, or these type of things. But basically, what they want to do is, instead of the client server model that everyone's used to, with us sending computed on a server, instead you compute it on your device. And then you just want to prove to the service provider that this was performed correctly. Because of course, why do you want to keep the computation client side? Because you don't want to give the data to the server side. So you do the compute, and then you need something to prove to this service that you have done this correctly without showing them the data or the sensitive information. And that's through something called the zero knowledge proof in cryptography. And so you compute this proof, you send this proof to the verifier, we call, and verifier verifies that you have done this correctly. And that's how Alio works. So Snark OS, to get back to this tech stack, is the software, the code that is run by those machines that run the blockchain, the nodes, we call them. And Snark VM is how we, for example, we use this a lot in Avail, in the wallet, allow you to execute zero knowledge proof on your device and execute this compute, these transactions on your device. So we use that a lot. And that's really it. And as well, even we're open source, they're open source, so everyone's open source, and it's nice.
And that's amazing. Yeah. What inspired you to start working on this project, and how it became something more than that? Like, because I think that
Mhm,
you're not alone in this, right? You are a team.
mhm, mhm. Yes. I mean, if I had to say what inspired me, it's that I just looked at, I got into this crypto space, the blockchain space, and I looked at the value propositions it provided, which is to provide an alternative system to banking, really. And there have been so many, I mean, don't think of the US and Europe maybe that have better financial services. There are places in the world, emerging countries, developing countries, that don't have access to good financial services. About 1.5 billion people in the world who don't
Mhm.
have a bank, so they work, very primitive way, like with cash only or something to transact really. And I believe blockchain can provide a cheaper system for everyone when it comes to like transacting and interacting value terms. um, because it's the internet of money, it's decentralizing. It's no longer by the bank, this intermediary, and that's the only way you can do it. It's not true. It's just databases, and you're doing plus and minus. And what inspired me to start it was that this wasn't private. Like, they built this great tech, and then everything's public.
Mhm.
And I was like, what do you mean? And I was like, okay, how can we make this private? Like, to myself, and I got a whiteboard. I was like, how can you make this private? And then I found Alio, which have been working on it for like 4 or 5 years to make it private. And I was like, okay, then someone needs to make this easy for the everyday person to use. And that's kind of our mission, to give access to this to give access to this technology to everyone, to anyone around the world. And um, so they can enjoy these value propositions, like international money transfers, which are very cheap. And the same if you're sending to Japan or if you're sending to the US, it's the same. Um, and whilst preserving their privacy, of course. And
Yeah.
as for the team, yeah, then the team, I started, going to university, talking to the people in my course, seeing who's interested. I mean, and some people joined, and others from other courses joined, and we kind of, started grinding.
How many people are you now in your team?
I think we're five, including myself. Yeah,
Nice. That's really cool. How do you divide the jobs between the team? And are you
yeah.
all
I mean,
developers or are people that are designers or something else? I don't know.
yeah. I mean, currently we're two developers out of the five. We were three, we were six before, but someone just left or kind of decided to focus more on uni, which is fine. Um, And we divide the work in, there is a lot of community building to be done. So that's by the people who aren't, by developers as well, but by the people who aren't developers, it's a lot of community building. It's a lot of on the marketing side, the design side. Um, those are two. So two out of the five. One is a lawyer. So he really helps us navigate the legal space. Because when you're creating a system that is permissionless, fully private, and can transfer value, you're creating a pocket of the economy that is
Mm.
untracked and can facilitate illicit actions. So we're seeing how to navigate that realm in a way where we do not facilitate bad actors, and we also comply with the regulations we have to comply when we decide to start supporting actual money and value, and which will be in 4 months, I think. But much to go till there. I think it will be when we have stable tech. um, and as for developers, I mean, we just every 3 days every day we update each other. Every 3 days we have like a stand up, and we kind of distribute the tasks there. We have very milestones up till like a year, and then they're split into months, and then they're split into weeks. Like, we know what we need to do to get it where we want it to be, which is has to be fees have to be cheap, has to work much better, has to right now it's really, beta, like alpha, like it's just testing. If anyone wants to try it out, right now we're just collecting feedback. We have forms for you to submit feedback or on Discord. um and we're just iterating on that feedback, creating, if you try it out and you're a developer, you can go on GitHub straight and submit an issue. kind of like with Tauri, and that's how we work really.
That's very impressive. I think that you already have built a lot, and it seems that you have a structure on how you want to move on. By the way, I will leave all the links in the description below so everyone can check Avail and GitHub and again everything. And guys, feel free to leave some feedback because it's really important.
Yeah.
Um, all right, and I would like to change gears a little bit, and I would like to ask when you had bugs or things didn't work as you expected them to work, or you didn't know how to move on from a technical perspective. What's the process there? What do you do? Do you go to Tauri's Discord? Do you go to Stack Overflow? Do you go somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, from like my personal experience, when there's a block, I'm blocked. First thing I do is Stack Overflow or kind of search if I can find, or if, and then it will lead you. You know, I mean, even if it's a Tauri thing, Tauri is very verbose in their errors, so you can copy it. You know, you copy the error that was printed by the logs, you kind of paste that into Google or wherever, and you see maybe a GitHub issue comes up that was there from before from Tauri. You kind of read through it, you see what they said, and maybe there was a resolution, maybe there wasn't. If there isn't, and I faced this in the past 3 days where there wasn't a GitHub issue for the problem I was having specifically with Tauri. I mean, they have support channel in Discord. They have the GitHub issues themselves where you can put a issue, and it's better to just put it because once you do, it's either someone will tell you, I handled this like 2 months ago, or it's like a new thing. So it's better you just put it out there. Um, and yeah, that's really. I mean, I do go to Tauri a lot, and they're always helpful. I go in the general chat, I write something. Sometimes it's very simple. Sometimes it's like I can't. No one like right now. There's a problem where we're kind of even the. I think Fabian, his name is from the
Yeah.
Tauri working group, and he was kind of trying to help me out in this issue we were facing.
Yeah, I think in general, Tyrese community is very active, and as you mentioned, Fabian or other people are also very, very active on these communities, and they're always very helpful. But yeah, the other question was if you are familiar with the DevTools by Crab Nebula. I don't know, and if you have used them, if you think it's something useful, if you think that it's something that you could use in the future, because I know right now or at the time that we are recording this, there are not a lot of features, but we are working on more. So would like to have your opinion.
I mean, to be honest with you, I remember I had a call with Daniel some time ago, and he told me about it. And we were literally from like second week of December till second week of February. It was like every day coding as fast as we can to like launch this desktop app. Um, and we didn't try it out because it was just this machine.
Yeah.
Everyone was just going. But what you reminded me about it now, and I just was looking at it this morning, to be honest, and I sent it in our Slack chat, kind of, and for sure we're going to try it out. Looks good. Looks like it would be helpful, but no, we haven't tried it out yet.
All right. Yeah. And for the people that are watching us right now, we are working on more features. And right now it's free, but in the future, some of the new things that we will have, they will be paid. So I would just like to put it out there. All right. Are there any future plans or goals that you would like to achieve with Avail, or if you are doing anything else interesting that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, I mean, right now, really, we're just iterating on user feedback, getting the app more stable, and we're going to next week we're going to start working on mobile again. So hopefully with Tauri as the main framework, and we'll see how that goes. So it's in the future releasing mobile app. We don't support Windows yet because of this issue I was mentioning before, but we're trying to resolve that hopefully in the coming days. will release Windows and support every operating system on desktop. So it's kind of the future is supporting all devices, getting more stable, and then launching live with mainnet, so actual value, actual data, and actual use cases. And then we aim, always making the user experience as best as we can. Someone, this call, you can see an example from this call. I had to try and explain, blockchain and try and give an idea of what it is. At the end of the day, the user doesn't have to know. Like, it's just a more secure way of, and a more decentralized and user-owned way of handling your money and data, which I think it should be the way that this happens. And not everyone knows, that there's underlying cryptography to literally everything that you're doing, these certificates that are authenticating that this website is secure and everything, but they are fundamental to how we use the internet. So it's about we're going to make the user experience as best as we can. So and more and more people can benefit from this technology. And I really do hope we get to a place where we can enable, for example, these global money transfers that are no different from state to state, wherever they are. And like I can say one more thing. How many times have you done KYC? Like scan the front of your ID card, back of your ID card,
Yeah.
upload it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've done it maybe 7 times last year. I don't know. Like every time you're doing that, all your personal data is going on some server,
Mm-hmm.
and basically, and it cost people in like in America only in 2022 something like this, 43 billion in aggregate. Like it's big, they're big things, like big problems with identity theft. And so how do you solve that? By keeping the data client side, not sending it out, and only proving aspects about yourself to the service provider. Like if it's a bank or if it's a financial entity provider exchange, they want to know, are you a member of are you a citizen of a non-sanctioned country, because they can't facilitate sanctioned people, and
Mm-hmm.
are you over 18, for example, and I can prove that to them without kind of sending them everything. And that's something we're working towards as well. So, but very, very early days, I think.
Yeah, good luck with everything because I really see that there is a future out there. And as you mentioned, there are people that they don't know about this stuff, including me, but we don't have to know it. We can simply just use it. And that's the best part of it. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you very, very much for our interview. I don't know if you have anything else that you would like to share with us.
If you're interested, I mean, go to the links that shall that I will share below, and hit us up on Discord or something. We'll have a nice chat.
Again, thank you very much for our lovely interview. Do check the description below. I will leave all the links mentioned in this interview. And thank you very much for watching us. See you soon with another video. Bye.